Thanks everybody for joining us for today's webinar, which is titled Winning with Video in 2025, Strategy, Tools and Real Results. We're excited to be here today and take you through some helpful tips and real world success stories of brands that put the strategies we're about to share to use. In addition to the presenters, we're joined by Alyssa and Cassandra, who are moderators. So please keep your sound muted and feel free to turn on your videos. We love to see you. Our presenters today are myself, Eve Ashworth, and Jennifer King. So I'm the co-founder of and CEO of Ashworth Creative, a marketing agency that's been based in the Hudson Valley for about 22 years. We started the company with a simple goal to combine smart strategy with bold creative to help businesses grow. And that's still at the heart of everything that we do here at Ashworth Creative.
And hi, I'm Jennifer King. I'm the video production and a project manager here at Ashworth Creative. After starting my career in photojournalism and community arts, I joined Ashworth Creative almost 3 years ago now. And I use my diverse professional background to help inform my creative approach to video projects and client work alike.
All right, so now that you've met us, we're going to jump right in and talk a little bit about the agency. As I said, it's 22 years strong. We believe that strong creative really drives strong results, whether it's video, digital and print ads, websites, or even event platforms, which we also build. We craft impactful work that maximizes budgets, builds trust and credibility, and drives real engagement, leads, and sales. We're professional, collaborative, and ego-free, focused on what works and how to make it work even better. Today, we're excited to focus in on one of our core offerings, which is video, a powerful and essential tool in today's marketing landscape. So we're going to start off with a brief overview of some interesting stats that show why videos matter in today's business world. We'll talk about when, why, and where to use video, and then we'll move on to discuss how to build your video foundation, illustrating how our helpful tips were used in real-world success stories. And I think you're going to find this super helpful. And finally, we'll end up with a helpful action plan so you can get started with video today.
So we'll start with some of the big stats that blew us away. A recent article by Forbes stated that 91% of businesses are now using video in their marketing strategies. And the stats we're about to share really illustrate why. Because according to Adobe, video content dominates 82% of all consumer internet traffic, which is significant. A recent report by a company that specializes in SEO plugins and toolkits showed that search results with videos increase organic traffic by 157%. And this isn't surprising given that according to an article released by the Associated Press, video content can improve your website's SEO ranking, with pages containing video being 53 times more likely to rank on the first page of Google. So you might be wondering why 41% is up here with numbers that seem numerically much larger. But marketers know when it comes to click-through rates, or CTR, which is what's listed up here, the most marginal numbers make all the difference. So for example, a great click-through rate on emails is about 10 to 12%. So to have something like video that can increase click-through rate by as much as 41% is huge. So the reports and statistics like the ones we just shared back up what many of us already intuitively know to be true. We're living in an attention economy. So what does this mean? Simply put, all brands and businesses are competing for consumer attention because time and attention translates to dollars spent. So within this framework, we know that video is one of the most effective tools to earn and keep that attention, which is why in today's digital world, video isn't optional, it's expected and essential. But while we all know that video is powerful, many brands and businesses struggle with how to leverage it. And that's where we can help.
So the easiest way to start when it comes to thinking about how you or your business can use video is to explore the many ways that video can be used. Whether you're launching a product or service, building your brand visibility, recruiting top talent, or creating internal training programs, there's so many ways that you can use video to help strengthen and grow your business. As we all know, video can serve multiple functions. It's a dynamic tool that can drive measurable results and outcomes, improve user engagement, and reinforce your business brand objectives across marketing, HR, and operations. And because there are so many reasons to use video and so many ways to go about producing it, a lot of brands tend to get stuck and they don't know where to start. It can be super difficult to narrow down focus with questions swirling around like what kinds of videos and what level of frequencies work. How do we differentiate ourselves in a crowded market while maintaining authenticity? How to create video with a small team or limited budget? And how do we stay consistent without burning out? I always find that clients are asking all the time, if my competitor does this, should I be doing it too? And how do we drive real results using video? We're going to walk through some of the answers to these questions and illustrate real-world examples of how we've helped other brands get unstuck using the methods we're about to share.
So this next bit is really going to be setting a foundation for answering those questions and taking you through how we have utilized different strategies to help people use video to reach their goals. So the first question that we're going to look at is what kinds of videos should we make? And in order to answer that question, you kind of have to answer the following. So first, why are you making the videos? In other words, what is the purpose or goal of your videos? Think back to the previous slide on when and why to invest in video, where Eve listed out a couple of, really common reasons. So is it to launch a product or service, build brand visibility, strengthen your brand's credibility, or are you trying to recruit top talent? There are no right or wrong answers, but you do need an answer because it sets the foundation and direction for production. And next, you should consider your audience. So who will see it and where will it go? Since this will help you determine what platforms would be most beneficial for the final product and how you're going to effectively get your message across. So for example, you're going to do different platforms and you're going to approach things differently if you're trying to target Gen Z versus the boomer generation. And we'll talk more about considering budget when creating videos later on, but it's important to mention now too, because assessing your resources might help define what you can realistically achieve. So rather than a full-scale production, you can decide to create quick iPhone videos, for example. And your brand's visual identity and voice will also help you identify the best way to get your message across. So for example, it might not be appropriate to follow TikTok trends that don't align with your brand or audience, whereas in other cases, it might be appropriate to use TikTok, going back to the Gen Z versus boomer example from earlier. So something to keep in mind every step of the way is to keep it simple. You don't need to capture it all in one fell swoop. Find where the path of least resistance meets with and matches your goals, audience, resources, and brand.
So we're going to talk a little bit about a strategic video execution that we did for Dutchess County. The purpose, audience, and resources defined how we approached this project. So the challenge was that Dutchess County needed to increase COVID-19 vaccination rates among underrepresented and multilingual communities. So the approach we took was we began by identifying 3 distinct target audiences, which were Spanish-speaking residents, veterans, and Gen Z, and conducted interviews with community members and local leaders to understand each group's unique concerns of why they did not want to be vaccinated, their motivators to be vaccinated, and we also really scoped out the trusted sources of information. So based on these insights that we discovered, we defined the purpose of each video, whether to inform, build trust, or encourage action, and chose video formats that would best connect with each audience. And along with that, we matched those video formats with the platforms that these were going to be published on. So we created original Spanish language scripts, not translated from English, for Spanish-speaking viewers to ensure cultural and linguistic authenticity. And for veterans and Gen Z, we crafted 2 different messages and visuals tailored to their experiences. So we really matched people's communication styles and values. So by aligning content with the audience and purpose, We ensured each video was both relevant and effective for each and every customer or target audience. Listen first. So what we did here was we really talked to members of each group. We asked what matters to them, what questions they had, and who they really trusted. And this will help you create content that feels personal and relevant. And we also clarified the purpose. So deciding what you want each video to do for each audience, whether it be inform, reassure, inspire, or drive action. And we let that guide our script. And I think it's a really great way for you to think about your script and how you want to format your videos.
I especially loved the beatboxing video. That was, and those videos really helped drive those results by targeting those specific audiences. So another question that we get from clients is, how do we help our brand or brands stand out? And this is a huge challenge for a lot of brands because you want to show how capable you are and how many things that you can do, but trying to be everything to everyone often makes you nothing to anyone. So by focusing on a few core things that you truly want to be known for, you can stand out in a business landscape cluttered with cliches and trends. So how can we take this approach and apply it to video? Well, one effective way to do this is to leverage storytelling. So real storytelling, when you think about it, it's not just buzzwords, it's not bragging, it's about creating an emotional connection with people. And one great way to keep your storytelling authentic is to rank your video content based on questions your clients actually ask. So if people are constantly asking, how does your product compare to this other competitor's product? Or what's your process like? Or what makes you different? These aren't just questions, they're invitations to tell your story. And when you answer them through video, you're creating content that's naturally aligned with what your audience already cares and is asking about. And your brand identity and your storytelling strategy should be built on that real world feedback, not just on what you hope people will care about, because that real world feedback is giving you true ideas that your audience is already engaged with and asking about.
This next case study really illustrates that immediate feedback from a client. So Harney and Sons is a high production, high impact video series that we built for Harney and Sons Fine Teas. They're already really well known for their premium teas, and they wanted to expand their reach during the holiday season by positioning themselves as a go-to brand for festive giving. So creative insight at this time was during discovery, a casual customer remark calling Mike, one of the owners, and Alf making tea or Christmas season sparked a unique creative direction. This offhand comment unearthed through conversation proved that the value of listening closely to your clients and their audience can really pay off. Production was super high. I already mentioned that we had a larger crew, and there was a set design and stylized storytelling. It was filmed on site at the Harney factory, which really brought down the cost. And also, it was reimagined as a whimsical Alf-run tea shop. It embraced humor and holiday spirit while staying true to the Harney brand's elegance and warmth, and it had a playful, story-driven context that stood out from typical holiday ads. The ROI on this was really high. So it was a 33% increase in holiday sales during that first year, and we went on to build 3 videos for the following years. And we reinforced the power of video as a sales driving tool. So that when this client went into the times of COVID, where you can imagine that a lot of their sales were wholesale into hotels, and so that really dipped during COVID when no one was traveling. They were able to increase their online sales through video and didn't really miss a beat, was able to recover that lost revenue with video. So video can be an incredibly powerful tool.
I love that commercial. I never grow old of Harney tea.
That's right.
So how do we achieve these results that we've been talking about with a small team or budget? Technology has made video production more accessible than ever, And this is great news in general, but especially good for small businesses or people who are trying to launch video production on their own. Because now you can use technology that most people already own, such as smartphones, to make high quality videos. You can even edit those videos in social media apps like Instagram and TikTok. And there are, beyond that, a bunch of other apps within the App Store that can do that same thing. And AI has also changed the game by making it easier to create outlines, content plans, scripts, even editing, and more. So access to these budget-friendly tools is great, but it's only part of the picture. The most important thing to consider when creating videos, especially if you have limited resources, such as a small team or budget, is to begin with the end in mind. So before you ever pick up a camera, ask yourself, who is this for? In other words, define the audience. Where does that audience live? So what platform are they going to be on? Not literally where do they live, but sometimes that could actually help create some insight too. And what do we want people to do after watching? So in other words, what action do we want people to take after engaging with our content? So if you don't know the answers to these questions, you risk wasting time and money. And that's pretty scarce in a situation where you have a small team or budget. But when you define the audience, platform, and action you want people to take, you can then make a plan that keeps those goals in mind. And the result is a more focused end product that doesn't overwhelm your small team and gives you the most bang for your buck.
So I'm going to talk now about a case study that we did for a company called Chipper, which is a door-to-door sales company based in Utah. It was a great example of how we use technology to keep within a limited budget and short project timeline. Using a platform called Riverside.fm, we were able to capture remote videos and interviews that were HD quality videos and then use them within the different marketing funnel stages on the company's website, pre-funnel, and mid-funnel. This also engaged social media platforms, differing social media platforms, and all in all, we were able to gain a lot of traction for the company. So not only did we increase their brand, but we produced 27 videos featuring Chipper's team members and captured their testimonials of working within the company. We aligned each script with their unique stories, which then we were able to get some great results. Every interview captured personal experiences and success stories, helping prospects relate to Chipper's culture and mission. And this is a great way to think about video. When your clients and customers are happy, then it would be good to be able to capture a remote video in that moment and use that throughout your sales materials and to increase brand recognition as well.
Absolutely. Great point. So how do we stay consistent without burning out? Just like consistency is key in your brand look and messaging, consistency is also key for driving the results that you've just talked about. But this presents its own challenges with a small team or budget, as we just discussed. Even larger brands struggle to be consistent with outputs, whether in their own blogs, on social media platforms, or other channels. So, how do we stay consistent without burning out? The first step is to be realistic about the resources you can allocate to the project. And the next is to find ways to use those resources to your advantage. So, for example, one way that we do this is to batch your content. In other words, film multiple videos in one session to save time and money. So you could commit to doing this one day per month or every couple of months or once per quarter. But the point is you prepare for the day with an agenda and all the scripts that you need that are outlined in your content plan. And with things as simple as changing someone's shirt or choosing various backgrounds, you can create a new look while filming everything all in the same day. Another way is to create repeatable formats for your videos or graphics. So this can be as simple as on Tuesdays we do explainer videos, or Fridays are for fun facts. Having repetition creates its own kind of consistency, so it makes it easier for you and your team to come up with ideas and an established framework, and it gives you an ability to kind of work within that framework to have additional creative ideas flowing. And you also don't have to create everything from scratch. So you can repurpose existing assets to help with video production. So using clips from previously produced videos, for example, is a great way not only to leverage what you already have, but to save resources from potentially being wasted by reshooting content that already exists. So creating a content plan, as I mentioned earlier briefly, is probably the easiest way to make sure that everything stays consistent, both with posting frequency and type, especially with your brand voice and visual identity, which is key. So, having that overview can really help you pinpoint what it is you need on the days that you might be batch shooting your content, or what formats are resonating with people and therefore you can repeat. So creating a content plan is a great way to use all of these strategies in one place.
And this next client is a great example of batching content. So oftentimes, when we work with Crystal Run Healthcare, we've built really high-end client testimonial campaigns that have driven real results while maintaining brand consistency and authenticity. We've also built internal videos that's specific to the internal audience, but it has been public facing too. So there's many different types of videos that you can build. With a larger storytelling approach, we structured the videos into flexible, bite-sized, platform-specific cuts, from TikTok clips and LinkedIn posts to a longer version on the landing page that each one of these platforms led to. So we used those paid media campaigns in many different ways for the many different platforms. And this modular strategy allowed us to tailor the message for different audiences, maximizing reach and engagement across platforms without requiring excess shoot days. So the result was that videos really resonated with audiences. It drove traffic to the landing page and ultimately helped our clients book more patient appointments. And in this instance, for the video on the far right with Dr. Conway, their office actually asked for us to stop running the campaign because it was just so successful and they were booking so many appointments. So this approach is not only effective, it's super scalable, and we can meet a wide range of budgets by designing content that performs well across channels and delivers measurable results.
It's always good to create good problems for clients, right? Like too many people are accessing our service.
I know.
So,
It's really a nice challenge to have.
absolutely. So the final question we'll be reviewing today is, how do we drive real results? So one great way to do this is to start small and scale up. So as we've kind of mentioned throughout, you don't need a full-scale production for every post. You can get really good quality even with short iPhone videos that you capture day in and day out. So if you can't commit, for example, to a weekly schedule, if monthly is more sustainable, you can do that. That's okay. The idea is starting somewhere and then being able to grow. So focus on consistency is what we're saying, not volume. And then make sure that all of the content that you create is optimized for the platforms that it's going to be on, because we want your video to work as well as it can for you. So what this means is using the preferred, or you'll sometimes hear native used, formats for each platform. So what this means is vertical videos are better on TikTok or in Instagram Reels. Horizontal or traditional videos are more seen on YouTube or sometimes on Facebook or LinkedIn. And square videos are often seen in the feed of Instagram and more so Facebook and LinkedIn nowadays. So knowing what those formats are for each platform and making sure that you meet those requirements can really help optimize your video and make sure that audience engage with it well. And adding captions can also be helpful because it boosts accessibility. And studies are showing that more and more people are actually watching videos without sound. So if you're talking in a video, but your videos don't have captions, people might not get the message that's coming across. Including a hook is also really important, and being sure to do this in the first 3 seconds is key because you want to be sure to grab people's attention because, as we know, in the attention economy, attention is king. And being sure to also have a clear call to action on the tail end of that video where you're grabbing people in is also important because we don't want our audience to guess what they're doing next. You need to tell them because who's to say if they'll actually follow through if there's not a directive. So examples of what that could be are visit our site, follow us, schedule a call today. And then finally, we need to look at analysis. So analyzing performance, testing different things, and then iterating what is successful. So you can track metrics that help you analyze these things, such as watch time, drop-off points, and conversion rates through many social media platforms for free. And if you're using GA4, which is Google's analytics tool, you can add a tracking pixel to the landing page where your video is sending traffic to further help you analyze and optimize your content. So in other words, regardless of what you're doing, make sure that you let data drive your direction.
Great points. All right. Referring back to work with Chipper, this project clearly demonstrated how a solid strategic plan is where ability meets agility. So we've created multiple versions of this core video content, each with its own tailored hook, designed to grab attention based on platform and funnel stage. This approach was rooted in the ADA framework: attention, interest, desire, and action. And this is what you're going to really think about if you're going to be building for different social platforms. Each social platform is going to need a different type of hook. And so you can imagine LinkedIn is going to be very different to TikTok. But this is a proven marketing model that guided our creative decisions from start to finish. Pre-funnel videos were crafted for paid social ads to capture attention within the first 3 seconds. And this sparks interest, which then allows people to go on and watch the video further. Mid-funnel videos were embedded on landing pages to build desire and reinforce trust. And this doesn't have to just be one video. This can be multiple videos, one playing after the other. Because if someone's really interested and they have a desire, they're going to want to learn more about you. And then there was website overview videos supporting this action and placed upon their website as testimonials. And this clearly communicated value and drove a conversion too, maybe to those that dropped off, wanted to check out their website. But we're always thinking through a funnel and where people are dropping off and creating content that will allow people to stay. Because everything's tracked and optimized, we use real-time analytics to understand which hooks performed best and where we could make small, effective changes and edits. And this could be to the video itself or to the content within the video. This allowed us to iterate quickly and focus efforts on the highest performing variations. And the result was a really effective ad campaign that captured hundreds of potential customers for the client. It was a highly effective campaign that delivered strong engagement and multiple high quality leads for Chipper.
So now we're going to be kind of putting it all together. So in other words, what can you do to start utilizing video today? So this kind of takes you through some of the frameworks that we've talked about, setting it in steps that you can use sequentially to kind of show that no matter your budget or goals, whether you're DIYing with an iPhone or bringing in an agency partner, all videos should start with a plan. And this is that plan. We've listed this basic format for video production from ideation to completion here for you today. And it's important to keep these steps in mind because following them will help ensure that your final product reflects your desired vision. And beyond this overarching framework, there's one more thing that we want to share with you, which will be a valuable tool to take with you after we wrap up here. This next slide contains all of the core elements that successful videos have, regardless of budget or purpose. So quick note, now's a good time to say that this deck will be shared with everyone who's in attendance today, but feel free to screenshot this so you can refer back to it later because it can be a really helpful tool as you're thinking through video and making sure that you have all of the core elements that you need to have a successful video. So let's start with a clear objective. So we definitely want to know exactly what the video is meant to achieve before we get going. So awareness, engagement, conversion, education. As we said earlier, it doesn't really matter what the video is about so much as you've defined what the video is about before you started on the actual video. And a strong hook is also really important. So this is something that grabs people's attention in the first 3 to 5 seconds. Because you only have that split second, this is crucial, especially for social or digital platforms. You also want to make sure it's relevant to your audience. So this content should speak directly to the needs, interests, or emotions of the audience that you've identified to be your target audience. And it should have a compelling story or structure. Even with short videos that are, 15 to 45 seconds long and going on social platforms, they need to have a narrative arc, some sort of setup, a value, and resolution that makes sense to people who are watching it. Don't leave them hanging. And then also having high quality visuals and audio. So I say this, it doesn't have to be cinematic, right? But it must be clear, well lit, and sound good. So this could be, choosing to film indoors on a windy day, but still near natural light so that you have really nice light on your subject, but you block out the wind noise, or, not placing someone right in front of traffic, because then you'll get all of that background sound. So even with technology improving these days, with the iPhone and Android phones being able to kind of, block out certain sounds, it's still important to try to pick as good of an environment as you can, because poor quality can break trust and can break attention. And we know that we want to keep that attention with people. Brand presence is also really important, whether it's tone, style, logo placement, or product usage. Your brand should be recognizable and, above all, consistent. Also, a call to action is important. So, as we said earlier, make sure to tell the viewer what to do next. Don't assume that they're going to know. Click, subscribe, visit, share, whatever the action is, be sure to define it so that they don't have to figure it out. And finally, platform optimization. Keep in mind aspect ratio, captions, the length of the video, whether or not you need a thumbnail. All of this should be tailored to where the video lives. So going back to platforms we've mentioned throughout this presentation, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, they will all have different ways that they want to be optimized for that platform. So always keep that in mind.
Thanks, Jen. We super are appreciative of your time and attention during this seminar. As you can see, there's a lot that goes into creating video, and we know that creative is 80% of what makes someone click on a video, whether that be the way it looks, the way it sounds, what that 3-second hook is going to sound like. But luckily, tools and resources like what we've shared today can help make building a video process easier. If you're still feeling overwhelmed or unsure about where to start for your own brand or business, you can set up a call with us. We're open to talking to anyone about video. We love this, as it's one of our core services at Ashworth Creative. And one of the best ways to implement video in your marketing strategy and save time and resources is to partner with an agency, because we have the expertise and infrastructure to support projects of any size. Video is an investment in your brand and should be considered as such. So allocating the proper resources will pay dividends. So thanks for joining today. Really appreciate it. We can't wait to hear from you soon. And we look forward to chatting with you again about video or any other products and services that Ashworth Creative offers. Thanks.